What would Haile Selassie I say about the world today? A spoken reflection inspired by the voice of a king. What would Haile Selassie I say if he stood before the world today? Not as a forgotten emperor, not as a distant memory in a dusty history book, but as a living voice of wisdom, as a mirror to our conscience, as a reminder of the courage we've lost and the strength we still hold. He was a Lion of Judah, a man of vision, a man of war and of peace, a man who faced down the full might of Mussolini's fascist machine and stood alone before the League of Nations while the world turned its back. And yet, he never gave up on the idea of humanity. Today, the world spins faster, but are we wiser? We have skyscrapers reaching the heavens, but hearts that barely reach each other. We have global networks, but fragile trust. We speak of freedom, yet still live in chains. Haile Selassie, I would see a planet burning with potential, but choked by fear, pride, and greed. One, on the state of morality and humanity. He would look around and ask, where is your soul? Where is your integrity? Spiritual and moral education is the key to all progress, he once said. But today, we chase likes instead of light. We've traded character for clout. We scroll through suffering as if it's entertainment. To Selassie, progress without purpose was no progress at all. He would remind us that it is not enough to be advanced. We must be anchored in values, in truth, in compassion. 2, on injustice, racism, and global inequality. Haile Selassie's most famous words were not just poetic. They were prophetic. Until the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned, everywhere is war. And look around. There's war. On battlefields, in boardrooms, in systems. The names have changed, but the oppression remains. The chains have shifted from iron to interest rates, from whips to wealth gaps. He would see a world still divided by color, class, and convenience. He would condemn the exploitation of the poor for the luxury of the few, and he would not wait for politicians to act. He would call on us, to stand up. The inaction of those who could act, the silence of the voice of justice when it matters most, that is what shapes history. 3, on war, power, and global conflict. Haile Selassie, I knew the cost of silence. He stood alone in Geneva in 1936, begging the League of Nations to stop fascism. They ignored him. Years later, the world would suffer through a global war that could have been prevented. He would look at today's leaders and say, have you learned nothing? Nations stockpile weapons while their children starve. We destroy the earth for profit and call it development. We send aid but drop bombs. We speak of peace but walk in arrogance. Peace, he said, demands a united effort of us all. It is not a slogan. It is a discipline, a duty, a daily choice. 4, on leadership and accountability. Haile Selassie, I believe that titles mean nothing without character. He would challenge today's leaders, not just presidents and ministers, but community leaders, influencers, artists, teachers, and yes, even you watching this video. A man who says, I have done my best, always means someone else must do better. He would ask, have you truly done your best? Have you spoken truth? Even when it costs you, have you used your platform to uplift or to boast? To Selassie, leadership was service. Service to the people. Service to justice. Service to something bigger than ego. 5, on the youth, the carriers of the future. But he wouldn't end in condemnation. Haile Selassie, I was a man of hope. Hope in the youth. Hope in the next generation who see the lies and refuse to accept them. The youth of today are the leaders of tomorrow, he said. He believed in your power to rebuild what was broken, to question what's handed to you, to choose principle over popularity. He would say, you don't need permission to change the world. You just need the courage to start. Final reflection. So, what would Haile Selassie I say about the world today? He would speak with fire, but also with faith. He would grieve, but he would not despair, because he believed in humanity's potential, even when humanity betrayed him. He would remind us that silence is not neutrality. It is complicity. That love is not weakness. It is a foundation of justice. That we must fight, not with hate, but with truth. And he would leave us with this: we must become bigger than we have been, more courageous, greater in spirit, larger in outlook. We must become members of a new race, overcoming petty prejudice, owing our allegiance not to nations but to our fellow men within the human community. So now, the question is not, what would Haile Selassie say? The question is, what will you do?